My retired neighbor built his fence onto my property and said, prove it. He didn't know I'm a licensed architect. I'm 38, work as an architect from my house in a quiet suburb outside Portland. My backyard is my pride, a certified wildlife habitat through the National Wildlife Federation. Native plants, pollinator-friendly species, the whole thing. Took me years to establish properly. Last spring, Kenneth and Patricia moved in next door, both 67, retired. Kenneth took one look at my garden over the fence and his face twisted like he'd smelled something rotten. That looks messy, he said during our first conversation. Brings bees into my yard. You should replace it with normal grass. I explained politely that it was a certified habitat. He waved his hand dismissively. Certifications don't matter in my neighborhood. 2 weeks later, I found 6 of my native plants dead along the property line. Brown and wilted, clearly sprayed with something chemical. Kenneth said his landscaper must have accidentally gotten herbicide on them. Sorry about that. Another 2 weeks passed. Patricia filed an HOA complaint claiming my garden violated aesthetic standards. The HOA president came out, walked through my garden, absolutely loved it. Complaint dismissed. Then Kenneth built a fence. Beautiful cedar construction. Professional installation. Also, 18 inches onto my property. I knocked on his door. Kenneth, your fence is over the property line. He crossed his arms and smirked. Prove it. I went home without another word. 2 weeks after that, I came home from a client meeting to find Kenneth's landscaping crew had mowed down an entire section of my garden. Not close to the line, 4 feet clearly into my property. Rare natives I'd cultivated for 3 years. Plants you can't just buy at any nursery. Kenneth came over that evening holding his checkbook. My crew made a mistake with the property line. I'll pay you $200 for the plants. $200 for 3 years of careful work. That's when I stopped being polite. What Kenneth didn't know, I'm not just a gardener. I'm a licensed architect. I have the original property survey from when I bought this house. I have plot maps and site plans. I measured everything precisely when I installed the garden beds. I'd also been documenting every interaction with photos, timestamps, and detailed notes. I also did some research on Kenneth's recent projects. That fence didn't just encroach on my land. It violated county setback requirements. Supposed to be 5 feet from the property line. He built it at 2 feet on his own side. That deck extension he constructed last month, no permit filed. Required for any structure over 200 square feet. His was easily 240. I hired a licensed surveyor. Cost me $850, worth absolutely every penny. The surveyor came out and did a professional boundary survey with metal stakes marking the exact property line. Kenneth's fence was 18 inches over. His crew's mowing mistake was 4 feet over into my property. I sent Kenneth a certified letter. Remove fence and restore property line within 30 days or I'm filing legal action. He responded by filing a counter complaint with the HOA claiming I was harassing elderly neighbors. Huge mistake. I attended the next HOA meeting with everything. Professional survey with official stamps. Photos of the fence encroachment with measurements. Photos of my destroyed plants with professional valuation. $20,400 in rare specimens. Documentation of herbicide used near the property line. Violation of county environmental protection ordinances. And I'd already filed a formal complaint with county inspections about his unpermitted deck. The HOA president studied my documents and looked at Kenneth. Is all of this true? Kenneth sputtered, his face turning red. Patricia jumped in quickly. This is exactly what happens when you let people have messy gardens instead of proper lawns. They become litigious and difficult. Wrong thing to say in front of our neighbors. Another neighbor I barely knew spoke up. Kenneth complained about my vegetable garden last month. Called it peasant behavior to my face. Another voice. He told us we couldn't paint our house blue. Said it lowered his property value. We've been here 12 years. Turns out Kenneth had been antagonizing 6 different households in our small neighborhood. Everyone had been tolerating it separately and quietly. Now we were comparing notes publicly. The county inspector came out 3 days later. Kenneth's deck needed to be partially demolished. Built without proper permits and violated setback requirements. Fine. Wanting $200. The fence had to be completely removed. Kenneth hired a lawyer to fight it. His lawyer looked at my professional survey, looked at Kenneth and told him he had absolutely no case. Fence removal cost Kenneth $3,000. He was also legally required to pay for complete restoration of my property line, landscaping, soil replacement, everything. Another $2,800. I used my insurance payout for the destroyed rare plants to expand my garden even further into the newly restored area. Kenneth and Patricia stopped talking to everyone. 8 months later, they listed their house for sale. The realtor told me quietly over coffee, they're taking a loss. They just can't wait to leave this neighborhood. The day they moved out, 5 different neighbors came over to help me plant new native species along the restored property line. We had an impromptu planting party. Someone brought beer. Someone else's kid asked me questions about the bees and butterflies. The new neighbors moved in 2 weeks later. Young couple with a toddler. First thing they said when they introduced themselves, we absolutely love your garden.